Welcome back. It's time for Press Review. We take a look at what's making the daily headlines on the dailies. And of course, we encourage you to be a part of the conversation. I'd like to remind you about what we're asking you on Twitter today. Do you think the country is well prepared to deal with the coronavirus? Get on Twitter, be a part of the conversation, and I will be sampling your views as we go through the show. But I would like to pose that same question to our guests today. We have Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer, have Michael Agwanda, governance expert, and former Mwingi Central Member of Parliament, Jomo Tambo. Welcome to the show, gents.
Thank you.
Do you think the country is ready? I'll start with you, Mr. Weda.
Yes.
This is one of the stories that are actually making headlines. We're told WHO to help Kenya fight coronavirus. Are we ready to
I think we are
this?
just being protected. Thank you so much. I think we are being protected by Jehovah himself. If it was our own making, our own preparations, then you'll hear maybe the CS saying, take photos of anybody who looks like has coronavirus and send it to us.
The ministry.
Apart from having those guns at the airport, and some guns that they put on
Check
your
your temperature.
Check your temperature. If there were preparations, you'd see them.
Yeah.
I heard there's a student who came in and was found all the way to Mombasa. And that just shows you that we are at the mercy of the King of Kings himself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have basic issues like locusts. So coronavirus that has brought down all China, that the US fears, where would we be? You look at the CS in charge of health.
Right.
Previously, she came from another department recently, having made very little or no impact. So we are shifted to come to this. So I think we are at the mercy of God himself, and we continue praying very hard. But if it was the preparations, I think we would do more of BBI. We are more prepared for BBI than we are prepared to deal with the coronavirus.
Right.
That you can take to Jomo Tambo's dam.
Yeah, and just
in Mwingi or wherever.
Just to paint a picture, China is actually even asking the European Union to help with this because it's quite massive and it's a threat, and there are people who have died. We've just been told that a man in the Philippines has been the first to pass away following this virus outside China. So this is quite big, and the WHO is going to help fight coronavirus as trio under watch. So 2, I think, in Nairobi and 1 in Mombasa, just showing that we are not immune to it. And by the time you get to Mombasa, you've interacted with so many people. So if indeed you had the coronavirus, then that would put a lot of people at risk. What do you make of this, Mr. Agwanda?
Good morning, viewers. As Mr. Weda has said, I really don't think we are prepared as a country to even handle the coronavirus, leave our own anthrax. And I'm told there's some places in this country that now we are having issues of anthrax. A friend of mine came from Tanzania just about 2 days ago. And I asked him, how was the security at the airport? And he said there was literally nothing. In other words, there was a place where they walked through, and that was supposed to measure your temperature. And there was no this little gun that I see in our local airports. All they did is they walked through, and they walked through sometimes in rows and sometimes more than 3-4 people at the same time. And so the question is, how will that machine be able to identify a specific individual with a specific temperature and a specific time, and then, perhaps even retrieve that individual for further examination? I say Tanzania because when we're looking at the reports, the World Health Organization is saying Kenya is one of those countries that is so key to not only in this region, but because of their frequent flights to China and the neighboring countries in China, it will be one place that you need to watch. I am talking about Tanzania, where my friend came from the other day, and I realized that there were a lot of Chinese in Tanzania. In other words, you really don't have to come from China. The Chinese themselves will have to come to East African countries, and if you're bordering those flights from East African countries to this country, you perhaps in one way or the other, if there was an infected person in that plane, you will be a danger. And hence, the reason why I really think that the Ministry of Health is perhaps not really handling this issue of coronavirus with the seriousness and
That it
concern
needs
that
to.
it's supposed to have.
Yeah.
I really think that now at JKIA, if you're coming from anywhere, because these people are interconnecting. This student in Mombasa actually connected from one country to the other and then finally ended up in Kenya. And so if we think that only flights that come from China are the ones that are at risk and need to be looked into, then we are cheating ourselves because this is going to come from a country perhaps that we don't even think about
So what
through
I'm
the
getting,
connections.
this needs to be regional or maybe continental effort rather than just collaboration rather than just Kenya itself, because some of the indicators of seriousness from certain countries, as we are told in this article, is that the United States, Australia, New Zealand have all announced that they will not allow foreign nationals who have traveled from or transited through China to enter, and some governments have also raised their travel advisory warnings. The US has, for instance, has labeled China as a do not travel destination, the highest possible warnings.
But Trixie, I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
You cannot be prepared to handle a disease if you do not even have the reagents in the first place.
Yeah.
The country does not have the reagents. In fact, WHO is saying that perhaps is when they need to bring some reagents to these African countries that are prone to this frequent visit and interactions with the Chinese.
Yeah.
And so we don't even have it. In fact, if you look at what the Minister of Health have been saying recently, is that, oh, we've done some tests. They're not telling us how they've done the test and whether they have the reagents or not, but we have to take this test again to South Africa for them to be tested. And so you wonder, what type of test were they doing if they didn't even have the reagents?
Yeah, Honorable Mutambo.
You know, sometimes I wonder when we criticize our own,
I think it's a bit
ourselves. Too much. I think it's like we expect too much. China itself is not ready. We saw them pouring hundreds of doses in a flat area so that they can construct a place to fight this. Themselves, they are not ready. Nobody knew this thing. I never heard, I've been with Ambrose for almost a year, and I never heard him mention coronavirus because he never knew it. How can you be ready for something which you don't know? That's one fact we need to accept. It is something which is an outbreak which came out, and the government is doing whatever it can to fight it. So asking whether we are ready for it is like we knew there's a virus called this, and we have ready medicine for it, and we know how to treat it. China itself don't know.
But one would
what
argue
is happening
that,
now?
Let me just interject. One would argue that any outbreak we should be
any
ready
outbreak.
For. Yes, whether
any
it's
outbreak.
corona, Ebola,
I'm a
whatever,
frequent traveler.
Yes.
And I see what happens in our airports. And when I hear people say that we are not ready at the airport, they don't know what we go through. Anybody coming from outside the country, it doesn't matter the destination you are coming from, you get tested, right? And I don't know the friend of my good friend here who came from Tanzania, which gate he passed. What I know is people are being screened at the airport, and we are seeing it. Let us give credit to where it belongs. Let us give credit to our people. I know people are being screened, they are being tested, and out of that, that's how we came to get the first case, which was reported. How did we know about it if people were not being screened? We got that information because people were being tested and have been being screened, and if you are found to have some symptoms, you are quarantined somewhere.
What I know
so
that
let us appreciate our own Kenyans who are doing the good work they are doing. That's why this thing is not here.
Allow me, I think after dancing in the Getui Stadium, you may have been converted. Coronavirus is not a new thing. In fact, my son, who is a medic, was telling me it was discovered in 1952. It has been there, it is in the records, people know about it. Like other viruses, but they say it mutates. Now, it comes from the snakes and the bats. You understand that? So it's not a new thing. The preparations we are talking about is not keeping some medicine, coronavirus, no. We are saying that these are viruses that are airborne, they are transmitted. You get ready in case it breaks somewhere, then you take precautions. Basic precautions. We just said somebody came all the way and is found in Mombasa. You saw the Chinese in less than 2 weeks, a big hospital is ready. Suppose it was here in Kenya. The tendering process and the carts would take us how long? You understand that? Even today as we talk, the country, the general populace has not been told how to be alert, how to stay alert, what to look out for, how to be ready, how to prepare. Basic things. Basic. These are the preparations we are talking about. My grandmother should be told that they should not come, and when I come through I sneak through the border, they hug me and they award. They should be able to say, hey, our son, having gone round, I think the basic precaution is 1, 2, 3. We have a big catch of army, soldiers in this country. We don't have to be at war to have them, but we know that war can come up, war exists. The preparations we are talking about, look at our airport. Is it just the gun? It's supposed to be somebody checking even your flight history. This one is coming from here, it's come from here, it's come from here. When you come in and told Mr. Mutambo, this side. This one has basically come from Kisumu to Nairobi, pass. This is how. Those things are not there. So even if you try to praise government because of BBI and reggae, the truth is we are only being protected by Jehovah himself. Otherwise, we have basic issues like locusts. Locusts in Kitui. You should have told the leaders, let's take all these people. Let's go and catch these locusts. Instead of dancing here, let's go and catch the locusts. We'll catch 1 million of them, and we shall have put a dent in their population. But what are we doing? Dancing here. Let's just trust God and let Kenyans don't panic. God is with us. Without God, we are finished.
Okay.
I think
now
I wanted to conclude. Just say one thing in what Honorable Mutambo said. Well, Honorable Mutambo, I just came from abroad just a few weeks ago. Nobody tested me. I don't know which airport you're saying that people are being tested in Kenya. And so I really don't know where you get that information.
Whenever there's an outbreak, whenever there's an outbreak
finish.
of...
You said that they're being tested.
I'm saying whenever there's an outbreak.
No. This is an outbreak, international issue, and people are not being tested. And that's a reality. And secondly, we are talking about reagents. This is not to criticize the government. This is World Health Organization saying Kenya does not have reagents. You've had the Minister of Health herself saying we will test the samples to South Africa.
Yes.
When we're talking about issues of preparedness in a situation like this, perhaps that's what we should have been told first, that we are really securing this reagent so that we can act with the speed that is expected in any case something comes into this country.
Yes.
When we talk about the government not doing this, it's not individuals who are supposed to do it. It's the government systems that are supposed to put this in place to protect the citizenry of this country. And when we say it is not there, it is the government that needs to say we have it. And if they're the ones saying, if they're the ones saying we don't have it, then
what we need...
No, hold on, let me finish. If they're one saying we don't have it, then perhaps we need to really ask the government to speed up on the procurement of this thing so that Kenya is ready.
For
this
whatever
thing is, for whatever time it will occur, it will be a disaster if we are not prepared.
Okay, let's shift gears to the standard.
Let me reply this. We are discussing these two cases because the government discovered. We are discussing them because the government discovered. It is not Wedao, my friend, who discovered.
Which government?
It is the same government you are criticizing which discovered these 3 cases. So we should give her credit.
Okay.
No credit.
I don't know why you behave as if this is not your own country.
My brother.
Let's shift gears to the standard, please. And the untouchables, we're told about the wielders of power. Now, on the top page of this daily, we're told Interior CS Matiang'i and his PS Kibicho are the president's trusted men who oversee the government's operations, such as their clout, and even the DP Ruto complains about their power. And they're being likened to some of other people who are wielders of power. For example, for Jomo Kenyatta, the former president, his reign had Duncan Degwa, who served as head of civil service. And under the leadership of Daniel Arap Moi, you have long-serving Attorney General Charles Njonjo as instrumental in Moi's ascendancy to power, and Simeon Nyachai, Hezekiah Oyuge. Then they're talking about during Mwai Kibaki's reign, you have Francis Muthaura, who was the head of civil service. Uhuru Kenyatta Uhuru Kenyatta, the protests of DP William Ruto and his allies. about decrees from Harambee House, the office of the president best capture the power wielded by Matiang'i and Kibicho. Do you agree with this analysis? And is it a problem to have right-hand men in power? As
Let me start whether it's a problem to have. You know, the president, let me use very difficult terms. The presidency is an institution personified in a specific person.
Yes.
And then behind the screen of the presidency, the individuals.
Sure.
And the individuals that the president trusts, not at government level, but at personal level. People that you trust, people that you are psychologically, spiritually connected to. Now, these are the people who wield power. And you can wield power directly from the president or by connecting to these people. There are people you find, somebody maybe is very close to the wife, somebody is very close to the mother, somebody is very close to the brother, and these are the people, they are the power behind the throne. So you align yourself to them, you become very powerful.
Yeah.
Sometimes very powerful even against the same president. We have seen the history of Kenya, we used to have total man, I'll die a man, I'm a real man. And indeed he was very powerful. We've seen, as they say, Charles Mugande Njonjo during Kenyatta's time, and then later on during Moi's time. We saw our kinsman, the late Oyugi. So that the power that you get is how does your word settle on the ears of the president. And the ears basically mean how much does he trust you? And how much have you succeeded in shuttling out everybody else or painting everybody else bad so that you are the one who is trusted. So the president himself must have a few people he trusts, and that is a close board.
Yeah.
Now, the way it comes out, it depends on the character of these people. So it appears for now, I don't think Matiang'i is in that power. Matiang'i is a pawn used to execute what the real what we call the real
wielders of power?
The real wielders of power want. They are the ones who will say, now this one Matiang'i will do. And then as you project out, as very powerful. But I know that they are real power holders. People that if you touched, you would touch live wire. Somebody like Mudaura was in that category. He was exercising power, but also trusted. Somebody like Matere Kariri was exercising power, trusted. I think mostly President Uhuru's men that wield power are not in public limelight. They are not working. They are just behind the scenes. You can only hear people whispers that, hey, this one. And I think for now, it is Matiang'i. But you'll find if you are to ask yourself, in cabinet, who, if you take the CSS, who do you think the president trusts most? It may not be Matiang'i. But who do you think the president will rely on when he wants a few things pushed? Then we say that one, send to Matiang'i and give him power and he'll push. The other cabinet ministers who are trusted, but they will also be very timid. They are neither here nor there. And I know the power barons, they never, the few I know, like Joe Mutambo here, they never tell you they are in or they are out. They're always like, I'll see. The ones who come out and push like Matiang'i,
fiercely, might not be there.
Their fortunes can change. So in the Uhuru one is the first presidency. The deputy president was really wielding power. He was actually more than Matiang'i. And if you had a problem with the deputy president, you'd have a problem with the president. And a story is told where he went, the deputy president himself went to State House. There's somebody he didn't like so much and said, I will not work here until this person is removed. And the president gave a nod and said, So when fortunes change, which is general and common,
it
then he can complain, but other people come. Even Matiang'i's time will come, Kibicho's time will come, and My final answer is therefore it's very normal.
It's quite
Even
normal.
as a person, you
Yes.
and me, there are people when they come and whisper in your ears, you believe them.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
believe them, even if they are wrong. You say, okay, they have joked with you, they'll know people. But there are others who, when they come, if I want, you have heard, when you want influence, even on Joe Mutambo or my brother here, we are here, we know each other. But there are requests, if I want, I will not ask him. There are people I will look for. And I say, go and tell him. To tell. And when, if he's told, I say, oh, I know, it will be done. But if I went there, he'll say, do a letter to my office. So that is why people look for others.
Yes, Mr. Agwanda.
I think it is in order for a president to have, well, not just a president, but any leader in any setup, whether it is in corporate, whether it's in private sector, whether it's a non-profit organization, you'll always have few people that have the ear of the boss.
Right.
And mostly, it comes based on two things. Performance, one, and trust, two. There've been a lot of arguments in governance whether the performance bit of it need to outweigh the trust or the trust bit of it need to outweigh the performance. But again, you realize that the both can come in handy. If you're trusted and you're a performer, most likely you'll find a better place before your boss. You'll be trusted with more responsibilities, and your boss will know that whatever it takes, the job will be done.
Right.
In this case, I think we have the likes of Honorable Matiang'i, who is standing out very clearly, but I think he's also standing out very clearly because of the ministry and the docket that he heads.
Yes.
Remember, this is a time that a lot of corruption cases are being hounded to courts.
Sure.
And very senior individuals in government, including his colleagues who are ministers, have been taken to court. Best example is Honorable Rotich, that was finance minister, that was actually taken to court. We have governors that some of them have been impeached and some of them have been arrested and hounded to court. You need a man with serious, strong will to do that, to say, you're my colleague, but I really don't care. I'm going to send the DCI because they've recommended that you are involved in issues of malpractice, and for that reason, we're taking you to court. Because the first thing that somebody will do, like we are here, if something happens and we are all colleagues and we're doing things, we'll have to discuss it amongst ourselves. But remember that now, things will have to break the ranks and say, look, I know you're my colleague, but this is beyond me now. And you know, my boss has said we have to execute. And for that reason, man, I have nothing to do with this, but to leave it to the DCI to do it. Now, Matiang'i has the balls to do that. And when you also look at other people, and just like Mr. Weda said, that the first time of Honorable Uhuru government, that the deputy president was a man to go to.
Yes.
It might not be now, and I think he still will some powers given by the constitution, but the guy that will have to do the work, the super minister now, will be Matiang'i. The only unfortunate thing with these super untouchable individuals is sometimes they also go beyond what their responsibilities are and what the laws of the country states.
Yes.
We are aware of some of these powerful individuals that were involved in extrajudicial killing in the past, and they were so powerful that you could do nothing about them.
Right.
We know the total man, the Auckland we call them the Bull of Auckland, and many other words that you'll refer to them. And we know also that even in the last general election and several other general elections, people have, some of them, been killed as a result of just brutality, not just from individuals or amongst themselves, party to party, but also we've heard of extrajudicial killings coming from the forces, and this has been documented by Human Rights Commission. And so you find that sometimes those authorities and orders and being close to the center of power can enable you to do more than you're supposed to. The question is, will they ever be answerable to the ills and the bads that they did in their life? Perhaps not, because they were very powerful. But I can tell you, the guilt conscious they will die with, because one day they'll be answerable to the almighty powerful God on what they did and what their responsibility was, which they went over and beyond. But I think it is right for the president to have people that he can trust, who are performers, but also can be trusted.
Basically, the king's wise men. Now, Honorable Mutambo, what's your take on this analysis of the people who are strong, rather wielders of power?
I'll compare what you're asking me with the headline. And it is the headline which is disturbing me.
Yeah.
I don't know who
and
is
I think
not
it, yeah,
touchable.
yes.
When we call them untouchable, we are being unfair. We could use another word because the two gentlemen who you have highlighted on those photos are the people now who are the Minister of Interior.
Yes.
And to my understanding, these are the people who have executed their work perfectly.
They've delivered.
This is, you can, Weda can disagree with me,
Yes.
but I will remind him that these are the people who are in charge of security, and that's why he was not robbed yesterday, because these guys are there. They are in charge. He slept well, and he woke up well, and he drove all the way here, no problems. It is because there's somebody somewhere doing their job perfectly.
Yes.
If they were not there doing their job perfectly, there could be goons everywhere, harassing everyone in the streets and being mugged everywhere. But because they are there, he's walking in the street freely and he is happy and he says, it's my right. You don't know that there are some people working. It is quite unfortunate to brand people. And that's my mood today. We need, like I said, we need to appreciate. These are the guys who are there trying to make sure that doing whatever they are doing to make sure that our country is safe in terms of security.
Right.
And if President has found favor in them and sees these are the guys who are doing the job correctly and I'm going to place them there, so be it. Everywhere, even in the church, not everybody who collects tithe and offerings, even Canon will tell us, you don't just tell anybody, go there, bring that hat and go and collect. Others will dip their hand and come out with some few notes because they are not trusted. So everywhere you must, even in your home, even in your clan, there are those who are trusted who can do the job perfectly. If you want something done, there are so many people in this organization, but with the wisdom of this institution, they said to a lady and a man by this name and that name, go and handle Kenyan Mutambo and Weda, let them debate, because you are perfectly doing your job well. You have so many people who could be standing behind these cameras, but you have those who can do it perfectly well, and that's the thing we need to appreciate. So to me, I totally disagree with the headline. If I was the editor of this institution, I would not call them untouchable. I'll give them another particular name. But Weda can disagree with me, there's no problem with that. But I know that these are, because it's people I've worked with when I was in Parliament, even
Right.
now, I'm working with them and I know the kind of support I get from them when people are not paying bills. I know nobody likes a regulator, because I am one. Nobody
Yes.
likes them. When somebody is trying to regulate you, you are not liked by people. These are the people, when I have issues, I'm saying there are some people obstructing water, upstream and downstream people are not getting water. These are people I go to and they support me in executing my mandate, and I'm happy with them.
Yeah, Mr. Weda, you seem to have an issue.
I think the most appropriate word
Yeah.
you can get for these guys is untouchable.
Okay.
It is not that they are very special. It's not that they are miraculous workers. Historically, you can't say that Charles Mungani Nyonjo was better than the others. You can't say that Honorable, the late Biwott, was better than others.
Right.
You can't say the late Oyugi was better than others. When they are in power, you can't say in the Uhuru one that the most hardworking was the deputy president. No. It is at that time when he has the president's favor, when you have the king's favor. It is only the king who has touched you, who can touch you. If they come and take your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, there's nothing you can do. For now, Matiang'i can get away with murder. You talk about Raraka, you talk about what? You will say, if you try Matiang'i, you will see fire. The only person who can touch them is the king himself. And historically, we have seen that it is normally again the king who comes. It is Moi who came up and brought down Jojo. It's President Moi again who came down and brought up Honorable Biwott and Honorable Yugi. It is, you remember Matere Kariri? When he was still with the king, and the king's wife was not in his favor. One time he had to literally run into the bush in Nyakach when Dino Falls was being opened. He had to literally, but he was still in the favor with the king. So
Right.
he'd run and come back. So they are untouchable. The only
By
person who
that
can
virtue.
touch them is the king himself. It does not mean they are special. The Ministry of Interior has been there. Michuku was there. He did it still much better than what Betiani has done.
Right.
Please, the untouchable, when you become untouchable, we will bow in your seat. Now we know that you have not reached there, but I'm praying for you to reach there.
Yeah. Now let's shift gears to page 8 of the Standard, and it's all about the locusts. We've been talking about this for weeks now, and we are told that Pakistan, Somalia have declared locusts and emergencies as experts warn of a major crisis. Then we have 1 week of untold terror as locusts pitch camp in Mwingi, and then with another headline still on that says, titled says, Kenya says it is on top of things, even as desert locusts spread, destroying crops in 15 counties. And that map just shows you how severe the problem is, because it's covering over, I think this is 3/4 of the country that are dealing with this menace. Just because we haven't experienced it maybe on a personal level does not mean that it's not an actual disaster happening. What do you make of this, Mr.?
When you see your leader saying, nobody can stop reggae, wine, 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 then you know you only need Jehovah. When they're dancing in the very county where the locusts are eating, when you see your minister saying, please take photos and send them over to us, and we'll analyze and talk about them. Priority.
True.
In fact, we are saying, if you hear about locusts, we are just joking about them. Oh, bring them, we eat them. Bring them to Nyanza, we eat them. Bring them to Western, we eat them. It shows you where we are categorizing them.
Yes.
That to us is a joke. If they are eating in Mwingi, we in Kisumu is like, we are very far.
So.
Until the day they reach Kisumu, then we realize we cannot eat them. The leadership, right from my president, should take this thing seriously. Otherwise, they're going to eat these things. In another 3 or 6 months, you're going to feel so much pain that even if you build the bridges will be there, but there'll be no people to pass over the bridges because of hunger and poverty and desolation. The deaths at these locusts are such a serious menace that when you see leaders like him dancing at the stadium, yet in the village, these things are eating. And nobody talks about it. Nobody says, Mr. President, before we talk about constitutional amendment, let's deal with this thing. We want to see aircrafts going around and spraying. Even if you're spraying our bees, we have to deal with this. Nobody is doing it. So the pain, I always say that this pain is the seed for change.
Right.
It is coming.
Now, we are told by a farmer here who has been quoted in the first article, says, we are tired of screaming and hollering in farms to make noise so that they go away. The 3 aerial sprays conducted so far have had zero results. We want the government to come up with better and more effective measures to kill said locusts. Mr. Gwanda.
We are being faced with a serious menace. I don't think our government has taken this issue as serious as I would have expected. Again, I say this. It is the preparedness. Just the other day, the government said that they are now trying to fast-track the importation of chemicals that will be able to wipe out the locusts. They've not been imported yet. In fact, the story is the ones that were sprayed was more or less like water because it did nothing.
Yes.
That's what people are saying. The locals are saying that it didn't kill them. I mean, if there's a mass killing of the cockroach, the grasshoppers,
Right.
you will see a lot of them dead. But if you're just seeing them still flying and you just sprayed, then there's something wrong. Perhaps you need to do better in the chemicals that are being used. I really think that we are faced with 2 things that this country needs to look into very seriously. One is we are having locusts that must be dealt with. It began from 1 county, and today we are seeing 15 different counties. Let me tell you, the counties are smaller. They're not like a country.
Yes.
For that reason, if they could come from Somalia and come to Kenya, that is an inter-country.
Yes.
We're talking about counties in this case. If this thing finds itself into the Rift Valley area, it won't be long before it will be in western part of Kenya.
Sure.
Now, that is really, Rift Valley and western part of Kenya is the bread basket of this country. That is where a lot of planting is being done and a lot of harvesting is being done. I mean, we're depending solely on big chunk of it from Rift Valley maize. And so if this thing finds itself there, we're in big trouble.
I'd
we're
like
also
to give Mr. Mutambo's time to contribute to this, yes. Honorable Mutambo, what do you make of this?
You know, when I hear Weda talking about dancing and locust, I don't know where the two relate. Because the locust, we have a ministry which is tasked to this job. The person who was dancing, nobody can stop reggae, is Raila. And I don't know whether Raila can run and capture this insect. I don't know whether he's referring to Raila or who. The person who is in charge of this docket now is none other than Munya. And what we should be looking at is, how did he handle these monies when it went to Meru? 3, 4 choppers were sent there.
Right.
How is he handling it when it comes to Mwingi? How many did he send? How many did he send? Is he being reluctant because they are not in his own county, or is he reluctant because they are not affected? Mera is not affected. What I think we should be talking about is being fair to the country. Whether these locusts are in Nyanza, whether these locusts are in Mwingi, whether they are in Garissa, they should be treated the same. The efficiency should be exactly the same. And action should be taken upon them irrespective of which county they are. Now they have pitched tent camp in Mwingi. Why are they there and they never pitched camp in Meru? They went to Meru first day and the second day they were out. Why are they allowing them to pitch in Mwingi? Because now I'll talk like a politician. Okay, I'll feel some discrimination here that when they are in this particular place, action is taken quickly. We would never hear senior officers talk about them when they are in these other areas. But when they land in Bondo, you'll hear everybody talking about it. When they land in Central, you'll hear everybody running across. I want action to be taken over this insect, irrespective of where they are. Even if they are in Wajir, those are Kenyans. They deserve their services, and government need to act upon these insects. Mwingi is my home.
Yes.
And I'm not saying this because they are in Mwingi. I would say the same even if they were in Kilifi. I would say the same even if they were in Mandera. So what we need to be discussing is how to tackle this. And this business is purely and squarely under the Ministry of Agriculture.
But there's increasing sentiment that work has been done to eliminate them. For example, they say the aircrafts used to spray were increased from 2 to 9. And then they're saying the control operation in Kitui and Embu County started on Saturday last week from after a swarm that crossed from Mwingi into Kitui County was reported in Embu's Kiambere area. Spraying was done in Kivo Ward, Mwingi Sub-County, Kitui. This is according to Oguna. Now, what do you make of this? Because what he's saying and the situation on the ground.
It's just a small helicopter which came and passed by and left my mother and my brothers chasing these things with
the metal and
the metal and burning tires and tobacco. That's what we were left doing. I can tell you what happened there. You know, what you are reading, what you were being told, and what is on the ground is totally... Me, I'm telling you what is on the ground. After the chopper passed, the things were still there, so the residents were left to burn tires and tobacco to chase them away. Right? We used this old method to do it. And when they were told that they are crossing now over to Bere, now the helicopters and the planes were increased because they did not want them to cross that side.
Okay.
So it's like they are preventing them from going to Bere, and that is what I'm talking about.
Unfairness.
They should, if they know where they are in Mwingi, go and deal with them where they are so that they don't wake up. Although there's these narratives of some farmers there, I remember discussing about this, the farm honey, and these things, also chicken, when they fail, chicken will eat them and the people will eat them and then they'll be affected. There is a lot of narratives going out there which nobody knows what to believe.
Yeah.
But the question is, are we doing the right thing to deal with these monies?
Absolutely.
Let me just add that these things don't spring from the ground. They don't just come out of the ground that you say they have just come out.
Yes.
These things can be seen. People call you and say, where I am. From Google Map, I am here and I can see millions of them.
Right.
Please come. So there's no chasing of them. We hear they're in Mwingi, we go, we hear they're in Muranga. Let somebody who's responsible, who is in the ministry, who is directing the aircrafts, listen to people, tell them we are seeing them, they are here,
Right.
please come. I know Mr. Oguna is at State House, so he doesn't know where these things are. And he reports the summary of things he has been told.
Yes.
This requires practical way of doing it. And let Matiang'i then lead it if the others are still at home chewing there.
For sure, a conversation that we'll continue with in the next days as they continue to swarm and perhaps as we see how the government develops its reaction. Now, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more for you right here. We'll be discussing the developments in the political field in the country. Do not go too far. This is Morning Express.